Hello everybody and welcome to Preivew Rugby on Preivew Sports for today's preview. Lions versus Sharks this weekend. Two very strong sides going back, a lot of the big guns coming in. Lions bringing a lot of experience into their side and quite a few interesting selections in terms of positions and kind of indicate quite a lot of long-term plans, both sides actually, where a couple of departures, a couple of players coming in, and we're starting to sort of see how the coaches are thinking of using their squad ahead of the Rainbow Cup. So a very big weekend for both sides in terms of the makeup of their squad and how they're going to use it, which players are getting the nod, which players are potential on fringes, which players are in line for positional switches, where they're going to end up, and that type of thing. So it's going to be a very interesting game to see how these players play in their given positions in terms of long-term where they're going to end up playing. Also quite a good game because it's two strong sides, and in the kickoff for preparation of Franchise Cup, whatever you want to call this competition, we've mainly seen, especially from the Lions, very second-string sides. They're sent basically down to 21s to play the EP Elephants. So we are now finally starting to see, the big guns, the likes of the Alton Yankees, Sigurboz and Noche, the Kanya all are going to feature this weekend at ELLIS Park. So it should be a really good game and very, very excited to see how it all sort of comes together. But yeah, so before we actually look at the teams themselves, please do smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Let's try and see if we can get over 1100 before we head into the weekend. A very, very big weekend of rugby. We've got 3 matches in the SA local matches. We've got 3 big Six Nations fixtures. We'll be covering all of it, so it's a really, really big weekend of rugby. So make sure you are subscribed because you don't want to miss out on any of the action. We'll have it all right here on Preivew Sports. Right, in terms of the teams for the weekend, let's start with the Lions, the home side. First things first, Dylan Smith left the union this week. By mutual consent, apparently, you could reach just, tear up the contract, which I think is unbelievably stupid and kind of shows you the rut that the Lions currently find themselves in, where the best players just continue to leave. And I cannot understand how we can just allow Dylan Smith to just leave mid-season and go and join Stade Francais. I mean, how? I mean, and if he's going to leave, you're going to sit there and say, right, where's the money? You've got to start being a better run better. The Lions are really, really struggling, in my opinion, in terms of the way. I mean, you've got Scara into Benny, you've got Bongi Manani potentially signing contract extensions with Western Province. Damien Willems has just signed a long-term contract with the Western Province, and the Lions are losing something like Dylan Smith, whilst they've got Steve Satole currently injured. It's ludicrous, really. It's suicide the way that the Lions continue to let so many good players go, and unfortunately, the players they bring in to replace them are either not as good or much, much older. And so where is any sort of long-term vision? That's my biggest frustration. So Rue Andre is starting as a loose head this weekend, which I think probably now he's going to have to. He's going to have to front it up and play loose head. Usually a tight head, but he's going to have to play loose head because there's no Steve Satole and Dylan Smith has just left. So already we're seeing, a sudden absence of depth at loose head. Jan Henning Comfort starting at hooker, somebody for me, I think, who's never really sort of lived up to the potential, struggled at hooker, and then Carlos Sardi at tight head, probably the only position the Lions have genuine depth, because they've got Carlos Sardi, you've got Danny Duplessis, you've got Asanati and Clavacania coming through, you've also got Vian Herbst, so there's depth at tight head, and you've got Ruan Dre, who's technically at tight head, but now having to make that positional switch because we've allowed players to go. Willem van der Sluys and Willem Albert are the 2 locks. North Narkle, we captained the side against EPs on the bench, and the loose have MJ Pulser, Vincent Chatuka, and Frankie Horn. Quite a few injuries. If you look at the line, Lem Hussein, Jaco Creel, of course, Blooming Rulof Smith continues to be very injury struck, so a bit frustrating there, but very excited to see what Frankie Horn can do at number 8, and we all know that Vincent Chatuka is playing some very good rugby at the moment. Andrew Warner comes back in, and he partners Alton Yankees, who will captain this side. The veteran there, and then a backline full of your regulars. Cordos Kosan is back at 11. Burger Udendal, Wandisila Similani is the centre pairing. Gia Selengbi, he gets retained, but has a bit of a positional switch, and Tian Swanepoel reverts back to fullback. So it's a very good backline, and it's a decent pack. I think, probably a little bit lightweight in terms of there are some better players we'd like to bring in. But yeah, I think it's just frustrating. I just look at the front row and think about Dylan Smith. I'm just feeling a lot better about the situation. I think he's starting to play some really good rugby. So is Steve Satole. But, you've got Steve who's injured now. You've got Dylan Smith who you've just been sold. And already there's just, that's going to be an area of concern for the Lions. On the bench, PJ Buerta, Nathan Macbeth, Yanni Duplessis, Rand North Narkle, Sibasiso Sangwenu. I thought he was one of the few players who really grabbed his opportunity with both hands last week against EP Elephants. Ross Cornier, Fred Zellinger, who's currently at the Union on trial, will get an opportunity off the bench to try and impress and earn himself a contract. So that'll be very interesting, trying to add a bit of fly half depth Obviously, you've got Johnny Lombard. He's got a long-term injury. He's out for like 9 months. James Valente, who's also fly half cover, he's also done his ACL, I think, and the MCL, and this has done everything in his knee, unfortunately. So he's out for 9 months as well. So probably a good idea to bring in a bit of cover for fly half. We've seen Team Toronto playing there as well. And then Dan Creel is the last person on the bench. So it's a good line side, a much better line side than we have seen. And a couple of opportunities for some youngsters to stand up. I'm looking at the likes of Willem van der Slaes, who I want to see a solid game from. MJ Pulser, Ngia Selengbi. These are sort of the Frankie Horton. These are the players that need to try and step up and prove that whilst the Lions have let a lot of players go, they can fill the void and, take the Lions forward. In terms of the Sharks side, the big names are also a couple of big names back. Lukhanyo is back to captain the side at outside centre. No Sia Khaleesi. We will not be seeing him this weekend. Short everyone has been saying that he still needs to adapt. He's still in pre-season, still trying to get back up to full fitness. So we'll hopefully probably see a debut from him next weekend. But in terms of the side, Nzamo Majola, Dan Uster, John Hubert Mayer is the front row. No Oxen Chair, although we are seeing Thomas Toy on the bench. Naru Roots, recently back from loan. He will start with Reniel Hugo and recent acquisition from the Cheetahs. Henko Fenter starts in the number 6 jumper with Mpilo Gomede getting a start. Siko Mozenoche comes back into the side. That's a very big win for to have him back. And then Tanela Nahamba, and I think he's under a lot of pressure. He's back in the side start. I was quite impressed with Grant Williams, and I think Jaden Hendrickson, for me, has kind of almost gotten ahead of Tanela Nahamba in the pecking order, because Nahamba was fantastic last year in the Super Rugby, but in Super Rugby Unlocked, Currie Cup, I personally thought that Jaden Hendrickson was actually playing better rugby. So very, very interesting scrum half battle happening in Durban at the moment. Boeta Chamberlain is at fly half. Curran Bosch is on the bench. No Monty Liebach. Not quite sure what happened. I'm assuming an injury because he came on against the Cheetahs and almost single-handedly turned the game on its head. So I would have thought they would have had a chance to run out this weekend. Yao Penkler and Verdo Koch are the two wings. Renato Jonker will run out at inside centre, so that's interesting. Another player we can have a look at. He'll partner Lukhanyo. Marius Lowe is on the bench, though we haven't seen much of him in the last few weeks. Apelele Fassi continues to sort of get back to full fitness. Very interesting on the bench, Dylan Richardson covering hooker. And we did wonder when Sia Khaleesi made the move, what was going to happen with Dylan Richardson. Is he going to continue on the flank, or is he going to revert back to hooker? Because they made the move because he was struggling with his hooker duties, throwing in at the lineouts, even at a bit of scrum time. But I think now with Sia Khaleesi having gone to Durban, they're almost thinking we're going to have to move him back to hooker. And I think it'll be very interesting to see if he can really adapt there. Because if you can have Dylan Richardson, Sia Khaleesi, Siko Mozenoche, Henko Fenter, all in the park at the same time, it's quite a lot of good options. And I keep saying that I think hooker is probably one of the weaker positions with the Sharks. So Dylan Richardson's a very, very good player, and I think we've seen that he was probably one of the loose forwards in the country. So if he could just make that switch back, go back to being hooker, but be able to solidify his role as a hooker, that would be a massive in terms of the line of the Sharks' long-term thinking. Inchituka Mchuna and Thomas Latoya are the two reserve props. Emilio van Heerden and Thembelani Boli will cover the rest of the pack, and then we've got Grant Williams, Curran Bosch, Marius Lowe as well. So lots of big players in the starting lineup and lots of experience coming off the bench. Two very, very good sides. It is at altitude, so that'll always sort of affect the Sharks, especially for some players who haven't necessarily played as much rugby. So I'm going to go Lions by 5. I think it's going to be a very close game. I have to back my Lions though, so that's what I'm going to go with. I do think it's a very good Sharks side, and very interested to see how a couple of individual battles. I think the front row battle will be interesting. Probably will favour the Lions, and for that reason, with the Lions back to full strength at in the back line, I think that they will be able to exploit them. Lukhanyo versus Wandisile Similani will be a very, very interesting battle. I think that's probably one of the biggest battles of the day. So looking forward to it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Smash like on the video. Do subscribe to the channel. My name is Steven, and as always, I will chat to you very soon.